Secretary Buttigieg, thank you for being here today. I would like to have been listening to some of the debate, and there was talk about a revolution, the EV revolution. I thought a revolution was something that came from the people, and revolutions are often compared to anarchy, where the people rise up. And I don't think the people are rising up asking for EVs. And I think it's actually just the opposite of anarchy, and that's hierarchy, where it's coming from the top down, forcing on the people, not having a choice, and saying this is the way it's going to be, and because of government policies and mandates, you're not going to be able to drive an EV or drive an internal combustion engine vehicle. You're not going to have the choices. And we know that hierarchy, according to scholars, leads to fascism. That's where that comes from. So this mandate that, or goal, or whatever you're calling it, that up to 50% of vehicles on the market by 2030, I don't think that's a revolution. I think that's coming from top down, trying to force some people's desires on other people. And with that comes a lot of other consequences. It's been talked about the demand on minerals and elements. Building all these electric vehicles is going to require a tremendous amount of rare earth elements and minerals. And at the same time that your boss is pushing EVs in one agency, in another agency they're closing down mines. Mr. Huffman mentioned the Twin Metals project. They're not going to be able to buy any electric vehicles if they can't have a mining project. But this administration has canceled 2 mine leases in Minnesota and enacted a 20-year ban on mining in more than 225,000 acres in the surrounding area where these minerals can be found in unparalleled quantities, right here in the United States. And I've said the problem with this administration and plan is it's twofold. It's physics and math. If you can solve those 2 problems, then you may have something with your electric vehicles and carbon emission goals. And I would contend that you're not even going to be able to achieve these carbon emission reductions. The policies of this administration are actually increasing global carbon emissions because they're forcing more energy to be produced in other countries. They don't have near as good of controls as we do. China's building 38 gigawatts of coal-powered plants a year. The global use of coal was at an all-time high last year. We can't put our head in the sand and say one energy source is better than another energy source. And by the way, America, you're going to be forced to drive EVs. I was back home in my district, took my pickup in to get it serviced, and I was talking to a salesman at the car dealership that I've known a long time. And I said, it looks like you've got a few more cars on the lot than you had before. He said, yeah, we're starting to get them. He said, but the problem is nobody can afford them. I said, what do you mean? He said, we don't have any cars under $30,000. He said, a big part of our sales used to go to people who could only afford to buy a $20,000 or $30,000 car. And now they simply don't have an option. It's not in a used vehicle. They don't have an option. Now, he had a $115,000 pickup on the lot. He said, actually, we sell some of these. There are people that have a lot of money, they still come in and buy a lot of vehicles. But my constituents back in the 4th District of Arkansas are the ones that are looking for that $20,000 or $30,000 vehicle or the $5,000 to $10,000 used vehicle. So with these grandiose goals that I contend are not going to do anything to address the climate challenges, they're not going to reduce any carbon in the atmosphere. What would you tell me to go back and tell my constituents as far as buying an automobile?
Well, I wish you could tell them you voted to make the sticker price of an EV cheaper by joining us on the Inflation Reduction Act.
And
but barring that,
also,
I would point to the fact that when I entered the...
While we're on that, now I'm reading that the price of internal combustion vehicles are more expensive because the auto manufacturers are losing so much money on EVs, even with the government subsidies that every American taxpayer are paying for. They're losing so much money on EVs, they're actually raising the price on internal combustion engines. So, me voting to spend more taxpayer monies on a government handout to play favorites in a certain industry, that's not going to help anything, and it's not going to make my constituents feel any better about not being able to buy any kind of vehicle. And my time's expired, and I yield back.
Ms. Brownlee.